the Cantor Fitzgerald CEO just came out in support of Bitcoin and Tether. But is that really surprising? Welcome back, everyone. I figured after the last 2 days of difficult clips, right? I figured we'd switch up the mood a little bit and go for some hopium. Anyways, let's dive into it. Cantor Fitzgerald, CEO, is a Bitcoin maxi and Tether fan. None of us are better than our incentives, are we? Anyways, Cantor Fitzgerald is one of the custodians for Tether's $90 billion worth of treasuries. So I don't know if you guys remember, I did a clip, it was last week or the week before. I'll post a link to it here in this one, essentially explaining how Tether, I believe that the Tether purchases of treasuries, and I'm not the only one, lots of people smarter than me, I'm sure, believe this too, essentially have been purchasing treasuries, right, treasury bonds from the U.S., in order to garner support. That's what I believe, right? They're paying to play. They understand the rules of the game, and they're making sure that they can keep their place at the table. Howard Letnik, CEO of Wall Street broker Cantor Fitzgerald, is a fan of crapto. But let me be very specific. Bitcoin, just Bitcoin. So I hate when they do that. Hate when they, even I hate saying crypto. Anyways, these other coins, they're just not a thing, he said during an interview with CNBC's Money Movers podcast. Letnik also said that he's a fan of Tether, as Cantor Fitzgerald is one of the stablecoin's custodians. Other custodians are Charles Schwab and Fidelity. I'm a big fan of the stablecoin called Tether. I hold their treasuries, so I keep their treasuries, and they have a lot of treasuries. He said, Bitcoin's value comes from its decentralization, something it hasn't struggled with, unlike Ethereum or some layer ones. Look at that. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not cheerleading that he is a fan of Tether, and we're going to talk about that at the end. With Tether, you can call Tether, and they'll freeze it, alluding to the recent freeze of wallets tied to sanctions. That's right, people. That's all they really care about. With Ethereum, you can call Joe Lubin, he continued. Lubin has disavowed that he and Consensus has ever controlled more than 0.5% of the total supply of Ethereum. 70% pre-mined. The signal for me in that article is right at the end. With Tether, you can call Tether and they'll freeze it. So this is exactly what we've been saying all along, right? That the government understands. The government understands they can't control Bitcoin, but they will absolutely reach out and control every single gate. Okay, this is why we call them the gatekeepers. And if you don't understand what just happened there, right? Tether is paying to play, and Cantor Fitzgerald, right? As you saw, they're a custodian of Tether's treasury bonds. So they're very much aligned with Tether, and this goes back again to the point of the legacy banking system coming in, taking over, staking its claim. This is no different. This is absolutely no different. This is just par for the course for people like us that have been paying attention. This is no surprise. Now, of course, the shitcoiners will FUD Tether and everything like that, and I couldn't care less. Tether, to me, is absolutely a state capture tool. I don't really care. It's a company. It's a company. So we're not going to lie to ourselves, right, about Tether. But what we need to remember is that Tether is no different than any other corporation offering the services that it is offering, which means that in the case that the U.S. government all of a sudden decides to flip the script on Tether and decides, oh, no, you're part of the problem, well, they're just going to raise up their own little apparatus. So it's really not that big of a deal. My whole point is that Bitcoin doesn't rely on Tether, so to speak. It could be anything there on the other end of that trade. Anyways, guys, that is the clip for today, and it is brought to you by Full Throttle HODL, reminding you, go fuck yourself. Stay sovereign. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys all tomorrow.